This agenda item was tabled at the December 3rd, 2018 Commission meeting. It's resolution number 2018-52, authorizing the mayor to sign the as-is contract for sale and purchase between the City of Clewiston and Polarama LLC for the sale of property located at 603 Commerce Court, Clewiston, Florida, known as Lot 6 of Clewiston Commerce Park. Financial impact is $73,181. We have before us resolution number 2018-52, and as-is contract for sale and purchase. Recommended motion is to approve resolution number 2018-52. Is there a motion for discussion?
Motion for discussion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All right, let's begin the discussion.
Go ahead, Lisa. Can I talk to him for a second?
Sure.
Can I go to the audience?
Okay,
Okay.
sure. I didn't know if Ms. Howell had anything to give us, or any information on this, or if the city attorney, as the owner, is being contacted by Commissioner Rodriguez.
Mayor, the contract is for Lot 6, which is approximately 59,897 square feet. Purchase price is $73,181. The potential purchaser has already placed with the city a deposit of $7,318.20, leaving a balance of $65,862.20. The as-is contract is exactly what it implies. The purchaser has to undertake all the studies, examination of the property, what they can build on it, the flood zone, environmental aspects, everything with respect to the property to determine if it is satisfactory to the buyer. The buyer has to do all that work.
Okay.
The city is making no representations, no warranties with respect to the property whatsoever. If the seller buys it, that's the end of the story as far as the city is concerned, and the seller has to deal with it from that point forward. And that's the basis for the contract. The buyer has to deal with it from that point forward. Excuse me. The buyer has to provide title insurance, any surveys that the buyer wants, and undertake any other studies at the buyer's expense.
Yeah, and in compliance with the CPID.
And the buyer will then, after they purchase it, have to comply with the CIPD ordinance by submitting an application to the city and following all the requirements.
Okay. All right.
And the deed will be subject to certain restrictions.
Well, first it's going to be a quitclaim deed because the city's not going to guarantee anything.
Right.
And secondly, it will be subject to a clause indicating that if the seller sells a property to an unrelated party, then the seller has to give the city 30 days notice in advance of closing, and the city has the right to repurchase the property at the price they initially bought it from the city at that time. The purpose of that clause is to prevent just speculation and turning of that property at somebody else's benefit.
Okay. And I believe that the owner of the partner of Polarama LLC, Manuel Santamaria, is here tonight, and he has his assistant, his interpreter, if you'd like to come forward. And if you'll state your name for the record.
My name is Bertha Garcia,
Okay.
and I work for Manuel Santamaria.
Okay. All right. Is there anything that you wish to say or anything? I know that you have provided us a company report, the corporative concepts,
Correct.
and then a rendering of your current facility.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Part of it, we are closing on Friday for the holidays, and we will not be back until January 7th. So we were supposed to do the closing on the 5th, and we asking to see if it's possible to do the closing on the 14th. We have a check here that we are going to give to Gary for the majority of the payment of the lot. But it's very important that, because we're not going to be here. The company is closed for the holiday and coming back to the 7th. We will have a million things to, and he only will be back from Colombia, which is the other, the main company, until the 13th of January.
Okay. Gary, is there anything on changing the closing date?
There's no problem with it. I believe
Okay.
I have it set up so that it accommodates that already.
90 days.
90 days, okay.
Yeah.
So that would not be a problem. May I ask you, and I know that Mr. Rodriguez Commissioner Rodriguez told us last meeting that he had already been speaking to Mr.
Yes.
Santa Maria, and I just didn't know what the plans, what the process of the land, and then the future of your building on the property.
Okay, I know he has 18 months to start building, and what he wanted to do is to create a manufacturing company. Right now, we do that in Miami, but the facilities are too small. We're growing, and we saw that this would be a great opportunity for Polaroma.
Okay.
So that's the plan. You more or less have a picture of what he wants to create, which also that will, in the future, it will be to have some people in this town to work for Polaroma, because we will maintain a sales office in Miami, but manufacturing will be done here.
Okay.
We do fragrances and flavors. We don't do finished product. We don't use hazardous material. We provide to companies, cosmetic company or food companies, the base to do their product.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions from any of the commissioners? Any questions from staff? Gary, is there anything else?
No, I'd just like to ask Mr. Santa Maria to sign a new copy of the agreement before he leaves tonight.
Okay.
There's only one thing that I'd like to have maybe changed is the termination from 10 years to 5 years. I think 10 years is way too long.
Buyer hasn't objected to it.
So,
Okay. So the 10-year, that was in the agreement, so we just need you to have you just want him to sign another copy here.
Yeah, the copy that he initially signed had a typo on the front page. It had the wrong square footage, so we want to take care
The
of that.
safeguarding the city for 10 years was the agreement.
That's right.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, and that's good, okay?
Can he sign that now so they can leave? or-
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, we have a motion. Yeah.
Sorry.
We have a
Never mind,
motion
never mind.
and a
Well-
second. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Let me ask one more question. What is the minimum and the max that can be built in that lot?
Okay. I don't have that information right off the top of my head, but I know under our CPID documents, our building official can give you that information. Kathy, can you email that to them?
Well,
No?
no. The whole purpose of this as-is contract is for the buyers to hire their own folks to determine what the setbacks, the parking, everything is on that lot, and determine it for themselves within the inspection period.
But the CPID is a public document that has all that information in it.
So they'll be
Or
able to
information in it. Might not be everything that they want.
Right.
But we can email that to them, the CPID.
Well, it's available online.
Okay,
Okay.
I think,
Okay,
I
okay.
think what he's trying to say is that rather than us make representations, he would rather them do their
Okay.
own investigation.
it's on the city website, the CPID
Okay.
that regulates the everything on those lots.
Okay.
So, okay, and that's Clewiston-fl.gov.
So Mayor, we don't have a minimum or I mean, Travis, you can't,
Not a minimum size, but maximum is always going to determine on what type of use, your parking requirement, stormwater, landscape setback. There's bonuses in there you can take for certain things. It's an attractive piece of property you can build on.
Okay. Señor Santa María, él necesita que firme los papeles, eso, por favor. Es el contrato.
Take a minute.
I see meeting?
Just ask him to resign this, please.
Okay. Este es el tamaño del lote, mire. Lo que tenía aquí. Aquí la inicial. Lo que tenía. Just, oh,
Don't need to sign the next one. Right there.
but this one,
Initial.
but it still he have to print it out. I have the original here.
You brought the original?
Yeah.
Okay, let me have it.
She's prepared.
We were looking for it.
She's a Girl Scout.
Perfect. Well, we need to do on this original. Is this the original here?
Yeah.
Okay, may I see it, please?
Yeah, sure.
There. So we've switched out the first page. So it's the first page, right?
Sí, eso por eso es que hay que entrar en esa línea. Okay, and this is a Christmas gift.
Thank you very much.
For the
The
city.
children very much appreciate that.
Yo que se regalo en Navidad. Okay,
Okay,
Do you,
very good.
so, and
Does she
then,
need a-
hold on.
do we need a copy of that for them, or
Manuel.
necesitan una copia?
Okay, where is the first page that we
There's the
switch?
old first page.
Okay,
And we'll ask someone to make a copy of this for you.
okay, please.
So you can have the,
So this is all yours, right?
Danny, can you make a copy of that?
Okay,
Danny, can you make a copy of that for us? That, what he has in his
Okay.
hands right there. I think Terry must have seen us shaking up.
Have a sweater.
He says he wants to make sure that there's no objection to his concept of the fragrance and the flavors and all that. I mean, we make sure that when he buy, you know, he's asked me, he wants to make sure he can build before he buy. You know, I know he's kind of going fast here, but
It's already done.
I know it's done. But he wants to know. I mean, we really haven't given him an answer. We haven't said much. So is there any opposition to his idea, to his concept?
You
That's
know-
what his question.
I do have one question now. How do they move the product?
¿Cómo mueven el producto? ¿Cómo tienen líquidos y el polvo? Pero digo, ¿cómo lo transportan?
We use UPS,
Galones.
Federal Express,
Okay.
DHL. We do by shipping by boat. So, and also sometimes by plane. Depends on what the customer wants and how fast they want.
Okay.
Okay, can I take Travis outside with me for a minute?
Sure.
Because I know the meeting's got to get going.
Yes.
Or you want,
No,
he's
no, go-
asking about licensing and stuff. I mean,
Okay, all right. If you want to do that real quick, that's fine, because I know he's here and he's getting ready to leave, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's
And
fine.
his interpreter could
Unless-
probably handle that with Travis.
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Okay, Travis can help. Travis can answer the questions real quick. Okay. Thank you so much. Safe travels home.
Yes, 20 days to figure that out. Travis, understand?
Okay,
Yes.
20 days to figure it out. Once the 20 days is gone, he's locked in the contract.
okay, so when the contract, the closing will be?
It's within the next 90 days, and you can decide. We can agree on what day is good for
Oh,
you.
okay, okay, very good.
Okay,
Manuel,
Merry
todo está bien.
Christmas.
thank you.
Merry
Merry Christmas.
Gracias.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is resolution number 2018-53. Resolution number 2018-53, authorizing the mayor to sign the as-is contract for sale and purchase between the City of Clewiston and NQAS Corporation for the sale of the property located at 519 Commerce Court, Clewiston, Florida, known as Lot 4 of Clewiston Commerce Park. Recommended motion is to approve resolution number 2018-53. Is there a motion so that we can
So
just have a motion? Is there a second? Motion is second. We're open for discussion. I believe that Ms. Guchar is here, representing the buyer.
Good evening. Cheryl Gutjahr, Rawls Real Estate. I hope you all are very familiar with NQAS, but if you're not, here is a packet. There's a proposed drawing of the building that they are wanting to construct on the property.
I'm going to give this to the
And
attorneys.
then just
Gary,
a typical conceptual
if you want to give that to him, so he has any questions.
Thank you.
a little bit about their company. They've been in business for over 39 years. They're based out of Australia. They've been here in Clewiston for about 4 or 5 years. They've been a local supporter of different charities in the area, and they've been in our community. They are looking to expand their facility. The existing facility will not work for them anymore, so they are wanting to take this opportunity to purchase a lot in the Commerce Park.
Okay. And Cheryl, what time frame are we looking at?
Right now, they're currently still under a lease under their building. And so they're probably looking at about 3 years until they actually get constructed. That's what they have, I think, existing on their lease now. If they decide to go in a little bit earlier, they can. They are going to pay cash for the property, and then they're going to be financing it through hopefully a local entity. They've been talking with local banks here in town.
Construction?
For the construction, yes. It's basically about a 15,000 square foot building. They are planning on doing a little bit more facade work on the front, making it a little bit more decoratively attractive. Those were just preliminaries. Let's see where we can get money-wise to make sure that this is going to appraise, make sure it's going to work. So that's what they wanted to start with.
Okay. Gary, did I hear something about 18 months and then earlier? And the other, no? Did I not hear 18 months?
Yeah, you did hear it from that buyer, but
Okay.
that has been eliminated from the contract.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
But we're under the same restriction as far as no flipping on the property, that it would go back. So
You got the check?
And is it a showroom? Is this what this is?
no, there's no showroom. It's basically offices. There's
Office,
2
okay.
offices, 2 bathrooms, a break room. The rest of it is warehousing.
Okay. All right. So it's warehouse. Okay.
They basically ship their products over from Australia and then supply them to the harvesting companies here in town for their harvesters to repair. They don't do any repair at the facility. It's all delivery.
I thought they had been here more than 5 years. Seems
Time
like
flies when you're having fun, but I'm thinking it's 5. I didn't.
kind of followed their company and over time. I think it's a good company.
They looked for 3 years with me before they actually found a place because it was so hard to find
Yeah.
a place.
Okay. Is there any questions? Gary, is there anything that you need to add on this or?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Was there any? Did I miss something?
No.
Okay, all right. Next item on the agenda is the approval of 2019 commission meeting workshop schedule. Has the commission had a chance to, any questions or comments on that recommendation from staff?
The
Okay.
workshop on the 28th, can we change it from 5 to 3:30? Give us a little more time.
On January 28th? I think one of the things with the workshops is that when we set them, I think the time that we did is so that folks could come here. I know it'll be recorded, but I can make 3:30 on the 28th.
That's fine with me.
Fine with me. Okay, so everybody okay with that? Okay.
That might be helpful. I've got a report back that planning and zoning is going to take a look at, so I may have a summary page that you can look at as well, that meeting if you'd like.
Okay, but you don't have a meeting on the 28th at that time here? Okay,
We're
all
trying
right.
to get one scheduled with planning and zoning prior to that, so they have some input.
Will you be able to join us by phone on that?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So the only changes then for the 28th is for it to start at 3:30 versus 5 o'clock. Okay,
Make a motion to approve the commission meeting schedule with the 3:30 change.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, approval of change order number 2 for Block 201 Utility Relocation Project. I'll turn it over to the city engineer.
Commissioners, this is a change order for our Block 201 Utility Relocation Project. And the project has been finished for a while now, and there's a asbestos cement pipe that serves Block 208, immediately to the west of the block we were focusing on. And we have the opportunity here to eliminate that fragile, deteriorating pipe by serving those 5 spots on that block, but with the new 8-inch line that we've put down Pasadena. And so to accomplish that, they've given us a cost of $11,166 to run those service lines to the alley. And we'd also like to include in this change order a reduction of the original contract by $2,600 to account for 2 of the 8-inch valves that we did not install in the original work. And with that, those 2 numbers together give you $8,566 for this change order.
Okay, what kind of time frame are you looking at?
We're giving them 30 days to complete the work.
Do you have any idea if this is approved, when they will start?
They're looking to start very soon. They've got a job in Lakeport, and it would be convenient for them to go ahead and do both those jobs at the same time. They're out of Lake Placid.
Okay.
So they install the new pipe, and what happens to the old pipe?
It will be abandoned in place. What
Okay.
they'll do is they'll run from Pasadena. They'll run 2-inch service lines south to the alley and service those meters where they exist today, and just abandon the existing line in place. And there'll be no services on that line.
So there's no hazards associated with it being...
Right, as long as
Okay.
that
It's not
asbestos
used.
pipe is in the ground, there's no hazard to anybody.
Okay. Any other questions? Gary, is there anything on this that, Sherry, is there anything? No? Danny? Okay.
Get rid of it.
Okay. Recommend motion to approve change order number 2 in the amount of $8,566 for the Block 201 Utility Relocation Project.
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Appointment, reappointment of commissioners to the Hendry Clewiston Rec Board. It consists of 2 Hendry County Commissioners, 2 Clewiston City Commissioners, and 1 Hendry County School Board member. With Commissioner Rowland no longer serving, in the reorganization of the meeting, 2 commissioners should be appointed or reappointed to this board. I know that Commissioner Rodriguez, you have been on this board in the past. Is there anything you would like to discuss as far as the Hendry Clewiston Rec Board?
I was just, it's on my understanding that that board wasn't meeting anymore. I don't know, I haven't heard anything from, I don't know if it got abandoned by itself, but as far as the conversations we had during our last meeting, we haven't met in quite a long time, so.
Okay. Sherry,
So I
can
don't
you-
know, we may want to ask if our board, that's an active board still.
What staff would request that you do is if you could decide who to serve, because at this time, to my recollection, it's not really that it's disbanded. There was some talk. My understanding is at the last meeting, it was what is the purpose of the board? And I felt that what I understand is that they were, the last information that I had on it is the city manager and the county administrator were to get together and work on that, because there were also some items, there's like a gift. Every year, U.S. Sugar has gifted some money. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like for 10 years. And I want to say it's like $11,500. I could be a little off. And there was discussion that because it's in the contract, the gift agreement, that that board decides what gets done with that money for the eastern side of Hendry County. And there was discussion that perhaps the board would stay together and decide that.
Okay.
And the county administrator, to my knowledge, and the city manager, they were going to meet with respective staff. I'm not sure that that ever occurred. I didn't participate in anything like that. But I do know that I have talked with the county administrator, Ms. Davis, and she would like to meet with management here and go over some items that are of interest to us to work on, goals, and I would think that we could all add that and find out where we are with that. So if you could
Are you
I think it's better
choose
to
someone.
willing to continue to serve on that board?
I mean, I'm fine, yeah.
I'd like to take Philip's spot if no one else wants it.
Does anybody else? Is there any? Okay. All right. Is there a motion to reappoint Commissioner Rodriguez and appoint Vice Mayor Atkinson? Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No? Anything else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. The next item on the agenda is the Golf Course Advisory Board consists of 7 members. Board member Asa Gotzi has resigned, and Joe Whitehead has applied for the vacancy and appears to be qualified. Is there a motion to appoint Joe Whitehead to fill the vacancy on the Golf Course Advisory Board? The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Any discussion before all in favor? No? I just would like to say, I know Mr. Gotzi's here, and I know I mentioned it at the last meeting, but we're thankful for his service to the community. So once again, thank you so much, Asa. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, discussion regarding Burner Road Sidewalk Project. Attorney Brandenburg.
Well, attached to your agenda is a letter that I wrote to the commission regarding this issue, and I made suggestions regarding how to avoid these types of issues in the future. I would recommend that the commission adopt the recommendations I've submitted in this memo as a city policy.
Okay, that's the consultant conflicts 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any questions on that? Is there a motion to adopt? So moved. Does attorney's recommendation? I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next part of that.
The next part of that is a letter I wrote to the property owner. The letter addresses 2 issues. One, the thickness of the sidewalk needs to be corrected. It needs to be ripped out and replaced with a 6-inch sidewalk. And secondly, the car stops that are lined up immediately adjacent to the sidewalk need to be removed. They constitute a tripping hazard to pedestrians and a violation of the ADA. And I've indicated to the property owner that if these actions are not undertaken, that the Code Enforcement Board will be asked to visit the site to see if the car stops are removed. And if the sidewalk's not replaced and the car stops aren't removed, the city, at least I recommend the city, not issue any further permits or inspections for those properties.
Okay. I will disclose that Mr. Royal contacted me this afternoon. He was saying, he mentioned to me that the cut sheet, the specifications for the sidewalks were at 4-inch, and that he only did what was on those documents. He does not believe that he should replace it with a 6-inch, since that's what was provided to him by the city engineer. And so I told him that, I would bring that up tonight before the attorney. But that was what he believed, that he followed the guidelines that were given to him by the city engineer.
Well, I believe the engineer indicated earlier to the commission at a previous meeting that those plans had a conflict on their face, that they indicated to replace existing with the same, in other words, the 6-inch sidewalks, and then the atypical drawing of the sidewalk that was on the plan showed the 4-inch. So if Mr. Royal's engineer had looked at that and seen the conflict, that engineer should have come to the city and asked for clarification and would have been told, have to have a 6-inch. So the bottom line is, he has to meet the city standard, 6 inches, needs to be removed, replaced, and he has to take the car stops out.
Okay.
Did he say anything about the car stops?
He felt that they were placed there to safeguard pedestrians, and that's why he used the wheel stops. I did respond to him to say that, to me, wheel stops were for stopping cars, not for sidewalk barrier. That curbing or bollards are normally used. But he said that, many folks park on that sidewalk for delivery, and they're trying to change that so they don't use that area for delivery. But that folks who just pull up to, say, Subway might park on the sidewalk. So I see our code enforcement officer. I didn't know if there was something that you wanted to add about this.
Debbie McNeil, Code Enforcement Officer for City of Clewiston. Just to, for the record, say that the 10th day was on Saturday that we provided for the removal of the parking stops. I did do a site inspection this morning, and the certified notice of violation was sent out today for the property, and providing another 10 days to remove.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I know that the attorney mentioned ADA hazard. Is that correct? That that he still sees them as a hazard, and that was a conversation where I left that at. That from just that I've never seen wheel stops being used as a barrier on a sidewalk. That yes, they're used for cars to stop cars from parking or going over a sidewalk or going over whatever, but I've not seen them as a barrier for a sidewalk. And that my, curbing and bollards were what the standard was. And he asked me, wanted to know about us citing a code in regards to why he could not use those wheel stops. So I told him that I would certainly bring up that today. And I see the code enforcement officer also coming back up here again. So I just wanted for the record to state that he did call me this afternoon and we did have this conversation, so.
It was cited under our public nuisance as a tripping hazard to our pedestrians who walk on the sidewalk.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Is there any other questions or any other concerns regarding this? Okay, the recommendation from the attorney is that the sidewalk has to be replaced with a 6-inch, even though there was conflicts on the documents, that the city engineer should have, or their engineer should have brought that to the attention and been corrected. And then the car stops that have to be removed. Scott, is there anything else that you'd like to add to this?
Yeah.
His engineer would have specified the sidewalk like it was, and it's up to the city to permit that. And that process happened very quickly to provide for the development. The engineer that designed it specified a 4-inch sidewalk, which is standard DOT specification. We were not aware of the city code that we could only have 6-inch sidewalks. But we've since understood that, and we are modifying our details to always show 6-inch in the city of Clewiston.
Okay.
I think the law puts the onus on the owner to know what the law is. So regardless of whether the city knew or issued the permit, isn't it true that they have to know what the law is? It's their responsibility to know that?
I believe it is, but Scott, didn't you tell us at a previous meeting that the plans had a conflict on them? That the plans on one sheet said replace per existing?
The plan sheet says replace existing sidewalk.
Okay, so the existing sidewalk was 6 inches.
That was unknown. The sidewalk's underground.
Well, you knew it.
No, I didn't.
You didn't know the sidewalk was 6 inches as city engineer?
No. We have 4-inch side. We've done projects for the city, doing sidewalk all over the city, and we do 4-inch sidewalks. Some cases they want 6-inch sidewalks, and we do that.
Who's they?
The city, the Public Works Department.
And who in the Public Works Department do you get direction from on that?
From the director,
From Travis?
Sean Chefflin.
He's not here
Sean
tonight.
tells you it's okay 4 inches here and 6 inches somewhere else?
4 inches standard. 4 inches standard for a sidewalk. 6-inch is only used across intersections where there would be traffic over a sidewalk across an intersection. 4 inches standard everywhere else. When we design those sidewalks, they are installed and we keep going on. This sidewalk, we just said replace existing sidewalk. We showed a standard FDOT thickness and kept moving on. It was only after the project was done that someone said, hey, the sidewalk that was there was 6 inches. And then we could look at what was dug up and say, oh, it was 6 inches. Well, now we have a conflict. That was the first conflict we had.
Did the Public Works Director accept the 4-inch sidewalk?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm still confused about when they removed the sidewalk, or why did we remove the sidewalk? Or if they were removing the sidewalk, wouldn't they have seen what the size of the sidewalk was?
Right, but they did not remove it. The city removed the sidewalk for them. Because they were doing work that they felt the city should provide sewer to them. The city was saying, no, that's you're doing the development. You need to provide the sewer for the city to serve your new businesses.
And
the city, in working with them, said, okay, it's a big expense for you. We'll remove the sidewalk.
Well, I will tell you that Mr. Royal said that originally this project, the sewer line replacement, was supposed to be around $20,000, and it ended up being $100,000. So I don't know if that came into play, what the requirement and what it changed. But he was saying, this is what he told me, that his original estimates from the engineer drawings was $20,000, and he ended up having to pay $100,000 because of the length of the line. And it turned out to be a much bigger project than he had anticipated, but they paid for it because they needed to get the line done. So I don't know. I'm just sharing with you what he told me. That it originally was $20,000, then it went to $100,000, and it's been approved by the DEP.
Well, if the commission would like, I can speak with Mr. Royals and try to reach a agreement on these two issues and the other issue we had with regard to the water capacity.
Okay.
I think that's good. I mean, the Royals are, they're business people and have been here for a long time. It's unfortunate, in my opinion, what happened. And at this point, I guess it's a matter of pointing fingers, which we hope doesn't happen in the future. But I think trying to work something out with them is a good idea. Maybe we can plant trees to avoid maybe that would be a cheaper option to try and avoid people driving over the sidewalk. What we don't want is a broken sidewalk or broken car stops all along there. We're not complaining just to complain. We really have an issue there. We have a code for a reason, and we're just trying to enforce the code because of the reasons. So,
okay, I agree that Gary. I think it's something that maybe you can contact Mr. Royal and discuss the issues and the discussion we had tonight.
Okay,
And come
will
up with a
do.
resolution.
Try to do so.
Okay?
I got a comment.
All right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones, I've been thinking about this now for a few days. Personally, I think you should have recused yourself to representing the Royals and the city at the same time. Because I don't know how you can do that fairly and objectively. I don't know how you can, how can you represent them and be our city engineer? That I don't, you should have recused yourself. You know, we got a library of engineers. We have Mr. Johnson here in the room, the Johnson and Johnson Company. Why couldn't they have handled it and you would have stayed out and you could have still represented them, but not us at this time? Because now, yeah, you're right, there is a conflict. But the conflict is that the city doesn't want to get stuck with this project, that obviously there was a mistake. You should have known all this information. The Royals should have known a lot more information than they did. That should have been replaced with a 6-inch sidewalk. Car stops there is not, who uses car stops for curbing? I've never seen it. I've been to several shopping centers. I've never seen that. I don't understand why didn't you recuse yourself? So tonight, Mayor, I'm going to make a motion tonight.
Do you like an answer?
Well, I'm going to, go ahead, give me an answer.
We came to the city and said, we've been asked to do this sewer line project. Do you want us to do it or not? And the city staff said, yes, go ahead and do that.
Okay. Is that what the contract?
And what we do is we design things to a standard. And we meet that standard, whether it's the city of Clewiston or a private developer. The standard's not a conflict with the city. Now, once the design was done, our job was done. We helped them.
It's a conflict when the project doesn't get done right. If it gets done right, there's no problem. But obviously, we've been, going back and forth now, a couple of meetings, and before that we don't know if that sidewalk's going to get replaced, Mr. Jones. We don't know who's going to pay for it. We don't know if the car stops. Royals doesn't want to do anything. They want to remain the same as it is. And then you're saying that you can't force them to do anything as an engineer because they're your client too. And what we want is to do it right, to get the job done right like it's supposed to. And there's a problem with the sewer where there's not a the incline may in 2 or 3 years the sewer may not run properly. So now we got a little. Didn't we red tag it? What's the thing that you're saying now? Claire, I may be wrong. I'm not an engineer. You told me that you're giving them so many months for what? If there's a problem, there's a red tag that it didn't get done completely. It's not. It was. It was certified, but you said there's a problem with it in the last meeting. Didn't you? Or did I hear wrong? I may be wrong. Did I hear wrong?
Yeah, what I should have said was that we designed the project to a standard. It was built to that standard. DOT approved the project. DOT, Department of Environmental Protection, approved the project, and the project's complete. It's going to function. The plan said build the slope to 0.004 feet slope, feet per feet. And the contractor did not build it to that slope. He was off by a little bit. So it wasn't built according to the plans right there. Their contractor made a mistake. The DEP cares about, will the sewer function? And so we ran the calculations to show that the sewer will function. It will flow 2 feet per second, which is the design standard. And DEP agreed with us, and they approved the project as it was.
But you're saying the contractor made a mistake.
The contractor did make a mistake. In an abundance of caution, we said, hey, this didn't meet the plan. We could make the contractor go and dig it up and do it over again. There's a asbestos concrete service to that plaza that has several restaurants that serve our city. In constructing that, they broke that service twice. We did not want them to dig that up and break that service another time. Is there a way around that mistake that the contractor made in slope that will serve everybody's purpose. And we did the calculations on it to say, well, what is the flow rate in that pipe? And it meets the 2 feet per second minimum flow rate. DEP reviewed our work and agreed with us, and they approved the sewer installation as it was. In an abundance of caution again, to protect the city above and beyond, I mean, we're done at that point. Above and beyond that, we said, hey, this is not designed according to the plans. Let's require the owner, see, we recommend you require the owner provide a letter stating that if there's any issues with the sewer slope, they will replace it at their cost in the next 12 months.
See, the thing, Mayor, that we're on the same team. We're on the same team, and I'm tired of sitting up here arguing about projects not being done right and, you know, whose fault it is. You know, we're on the same team. So our engineer, and I think there was a conflict there. Can you answer me if there was a conflict or not, Counsel, please?
I believe there was a conflict, and that's why the engineer asked, or claims to have asked staff for approval of the conflict, because they knew there was a conflict. Now, his contract says anytime there's a conflict, you have to notify the city, and the city has to approve of it. Well, so what is the city? Is it the department head in charge of that particular area, or is it the city commission? That isn't defined, which is why in the memo I wrote you that you just adopted, it says from now on, notifications of conflict have to be in writing, and they have to be the city manager, and they have to be responded to in writing. So we have a clear trail of what's going on. Presumably, the city manager is not going to approve of conflict work when it's real easy for the city manager to hire one of the other engineers to do the work for the city. So the whole concept is to bring that sort of thing out in the open, put it in writing, make it a public record, and require the city manager to avoid conflicts.
Thank you.
We have no problem with that.
So my motion tonight as mayor is to remove Johnson & Pruitt as our lead engineer and put Johnson & Johnson, and if they want to remain on the library, that's fine, as one of the engineers, but I'm making a motion to remove them from the number one slot, and putting, if he agrees, I think he's here, I think, in the room, putting him as our lead engineer.
Okay. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Okay. Discussion?
Yes, I don't agree with the commissioner.
Then you vote no.
And I will, but I'll also say why.
No, I'm saying, but
thank
that's
you.
all you got. You can say whatever you want, but you got to vote yes.
I think historically, again, we have to look historically. And we do have that library moving forward. We do have the stopgaps in place or cadre, whatever you want to call it, of engineers. We can put those stopgaps in place to make sure that we don't have a conflict of interest again. But I do believe that access to the historical information and the work that has been done for the city is important, that we have the access to that. And I don't want to have to start paying for that. I think that could break the bank as we move forward.
I have a question about that. If we have a city engineer, the historical documents, who do they belong to, Gary?
Okay, the documents are public records. The documents themselves, unless they contain original documents of the city, belong to the engineer. So the city can obtain full copies of those by paying for the cost of copying anytime the city wants. So that's the rule.
I have a question. What exactly does lead engineer mean? What status is bestowed upon them when they're the lead engineer? And what does that mean?
From what I remember, and Gary can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the city charter requires a naming of a city engineer. I don't know if we have 3 city engineers basically at this time. I don't know if each of those city engineers can be given the different projects on behalf of the city following the conflicts. I don't know if there has to be just one city engineer, if all 3 of them are named city engineers.
Okay, the way the city set up the existing contracts is that these gentlemen would be the city engineer. The other 2 contracts were for special engineering services. And the city could, whenever they wanted to, on whatever projects you want, rotate that work around. The city has never come up with a rotation system that I'm aware of, and I have no idea whether or not the city manager has, in fact, rotated any work to the other engineers. Your city charter says that you'll appoint a city engineer. And it doesn't indicate any process for removing the city engineer or replacing him with another city engineer, so you can do that if you want to as well.
So our status right now is that we have 3 city engineers.
You have 1 city engineer, 2 special engineers that the city can rotate any work they want to.
Okay, so
All
there's
3 of
no
them.
special status bestowed upon the city engineer.
Other than the fact that your charter says you'll designate a city engineer who will advise the city on engineering projects.
But we can call upon the other 2 if we
You
wanted
can.
to.
That is correct.
So I think really what maybe we need to do is look at the ordinance and address it, maybe to compensate for what your concern is.
It's a charter provision.
So,
A charter
Yep.
provision. Oh, so it's a big deal.
So you believe it specifically states city engineer, so that doesn't give you a list of a cadre of engineers that we can say these are city engineers, and we can rotate. I think a rotation of engineers for the different projects, and to make sure that they abide by the consultant conflicts.
My opinion is that under your charter, you have to designate a city engineer. That's really a title
Okay.
only, a city engineer. You can designate, rotate, however you want to distribute the work amongst them and the other 2 engineers at any time. If you desire to remove them as city engineer and name another one of those 3 city engineers, you can do that.
Okay.
But we don't have to. What
You
you're
do
saying
not
is
have
if we
to.
wanted to, we could say all the work goes to engineer B and no work goes to that firm.
I
If
believe
we
you
wanted
could do
to,
that,
with-
yes.
Okay, without doing anything, so.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
I mean, can we ask, the other firm is here, can we ask them if they've had any work within the last 6 months or a year or no?
Sure.
I mean, he's coming right here, he will let us know.
Andy Tilton with Johnson Engineering, for the record. We've done a couple of small things, and I've given some prices to Sean for a couple of jobs that have not come forward yet, but I have talked also to Danny about doing a lift station and force main replacement design, but he's still looking for money, so I haven't started anything on that.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay.
So
Thanks, Andy.
Commissioner Rodriguez, I think that we can voice our opinion that we're unhappy with what has happened, but let's sit tight for right now and let the dust settle, and address the issue maybe internally without making any
I don't,
decisions here.
I don't disagree with you, but we don't have a pulse on that, on who gets the jobs.
But
Obviously,
we should, because if
well,
we
we don't. We never have.
But we should have that.
And
the city
we always
manager-
assume that Johnson and Pruitt is going to get it, see?
But I think if we have a strong city manager, that will take care of itself. So I think if we just give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room till we can get a strong city manager in here, that some of these problems that we're dealing with as a commission that we should not be dealing with as a commission will take care of themselves.
Well-
Maybe I'm wrong, but the time will tell, and we can address it once we cross that bridge.
I haven't been very happy with Johnson and Pruitt through the years. So, I think this is the third time I've made a motion to change our engineer, and I haven't got enough votes to do it. So I don't think it's just necessarily this job tonight. There's been numerous mistakes made through the years.
And I think we should.
And I'm saying that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it right now on this issue. I'm saying it's time for us to move forward and get a new engineer, lead engineer. That's the motion I've made. Now, if I don't get any support tonight, I understand.
Okay. I can understand your concerns and the frustration, because this topic has been at every single commission meeting since, I think, back in August just about. We've been talking about this project. And it's certainly not something, like, as Melanie said, it's something that we should be having to deal with this. But I do believe that, given time, rotation of engineers, as well as these new consultant conflicts that we just adopted tonight, that those can all be into place to make sure that this never happens again. I think if we're going to look at changing a lead engineer, I think it's something that should be an agenda item that we can discuss fully, and not just because we are frustrated, we are concerned, there is some cost involved, but I think that we should have a more, continue the conversation and have some input from staff, as well as the, hopefully an interim city manager and then a city manager,
more
so that we
structure as
don't,
to what's
right.
expected.
So, but it's not to say that your frustrations are not the same frustrations that we have. And certainly there's been some issues over the years. I believe you and I were the only two that did not support the naming of the current city engineer because of the concerns we've had. But I also want to make sure that we do this correctly, and that we have an opportunity now that we've just adopted these consultant conflicts, and that we look at a rotation of engineers, a better process to get that done. I think it's something that we should look at.
Mayor, I want to say I'm bad with time, so you have to excuse me. I'm bad with time. And I had a meeting where I terminated like 4 people, 3 or 4 people that night.
That would have been 2012.
And we hung on to them for years, and none of those people are with us anymore. And we kept them and didn't address it then. And that's the same thing we're doing tonight. We're gonna hold on to people another 4 years, and then another commissioner is gonna say they should have been terminated years ago. That night I made a motion to fire council, the manager, and was 1 or 2 other persons. I think it was the Johnson and Pruitt too that night.
Right.
And it held true that those people should have been gone.
Right.
They were a deterrent to our city.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I
I'm
just
just
am
saying.
not. My timing and my sense of the timing for this is not right.
No, well, this is a different commission. This is a different commission tonight.
And I think
only Molly and I, Commissioner, the mayor and I were the only ones on that commission back then.
And I
So they
know
don't have-
exactly where you're
they
at.
don't know.
I agree that there's issues. I just don't believe that tonight's the time to make that change. But I do believe that the change has to be made.
That's the same thing you told me. What year was that? You're good with dates. 2012.
Well, but I think I agreed
That's
with
the same thing.
That's true.
That's the same thing you said. We said.
But it's a new commission, like you said, or like Commissioner McGahee just said. So I'd like to have some time to look at this closer, and make the changes that we believe safeguards the city. And if it's changing the lead engineer, then that's something that we need to do. But I'd like, because we're in such a transition, I don't believe that tonight's the right time.
I think that if you, I know you disagree, Julio, so I say the second meeting after we have an interim city manager where we've had time to digest it and not be upset or angry and
I'm not angry.
make a rash decision, let's say we'll put it on the agenda for that meeting and I'll discuss it again with you. Happy
And we'll
to.
have an understanding of what that cadre looks
Yes.
like.
And we'll have a
and what
chance
the
to-
expectations
I
are for them.
understand everything. I've been here 16 years. I understand what's
We
going
have
on.
to know what the other
I
possibilities
mean,
are. We can't-
I understand, Commissioner. I understand your point.
So I do have a
But I
motion.
understand it real good. I don't need to be lectured anymore
Okay.
on it.
I have a motion
Kinda
and I have
tired
a
on it.
second. If
Spoken down.
can the second be withdrawn and there's no just trying to remember our parliamentary procedures, or we go ahead and vote?
You can withdraw your second if that's your pleasure.
I withdraw my second.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second to that motion after discussion? Okay. Motion fails for lack of second. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is appointment of Keith Warren Davis as a special magistrate for the City of Clewiston. Due to the resignation of City of Clewiston Special Magistrate James Watt, City Attorney Gary Brandenburg has recommended Keith Warren Davis for the position. Okay. Mr. Brandenburg?
The interim city manager indicated that our longstanding and very good special magistrate, Mr. Watt, had decided to not continue his services with the city. And I looked around for someone who could be a replacement, which I offer up to you tonight as an option. Keith Davis is certainly qualified, has served in many communities as their special magistrate. I talked to him. He's willing to serve here as well. I would highly recommend him. However, if you choose, you are certainly able to advertise and go through a selection process if you want to. But it will hold up your code enforcement process for the interim. So I guess my recommendation is go ahead and appoint Keith Davis and see how you like his work. And if he does a good job for you, continue with him. If you feel there's some failing, then you always have the opportunity to put it out for an advertisement or to look elsewhere.
So do we sign a contract with him? Is that what typically happens, or how does that work?
If you decide to move forward with Mr. Davis, then I would prepare a contract, put it on your next agenda. It will be a very short contract. It'll just lay out what his rate of compensation would be, and I think it would be wise if you were able to terminate his services in the 30-day notice period, and he would be able to do the same.
I think I'm so inclined.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All right, motion and second. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Gary. Next item on the agenda is consideration of appointment of Wendell Johnson as interim city manager. Due to the resignation of Clewiston City Manager Al Perry, the commission agreed at December 3rd commission meeting to consider appointing Wendell Johnson as the interim city manager. Each commissioner has met individually with Mr. Johnson.
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm not privy to nobody's conversation, but when I talked to Wendell, he said he was ready to come to work around January the 7th.
And he told me the same thing.
And I know that, and he told me an idea about his compensation, so I don't know what we're on his compensation. And I think,
I believe the
Council,
attorney-
you're taking care of that, his compensation package.
Well, I'd like to have some direction from the commission tonight on that issue. I believe his concept, anyways, is for him to be hired as an independent contractor to provide you management services at the rate of $11,000 a month, and that he would provide his own housing that will be necessary for him to be able to be here on a consistent basis. As you know, he owns a home and lives up north. When I say up north, I mean, I think it's Lake City, isn't it?
Lake City.
Lake City.
But he will have a home here for the
That's right.
interim time.
That's right.
And just, I know you asked the question to the counselor, and he's been talking to him, but I know that Mr. Johnson told me that he checked with staff and that compensation does not exceed the city's budget on what we've been currently paying the former city manager.
So I guess a couple of questions. Do we all agree that January the 7th is? I think we got a meeting that night too.
Correct.
Is that a good date for him to start? I think he.
That
I mean,
works. That works for me. I mean,
That works for me.
I think maybe staff would want him to come tomorrow, but
I think he's gonna.
but I think that
And I think he's looking for housing as we speak.
right. And he had some leads on housing. He told me.
And my thing tonight is, can we do a motion on his compensation, so we can get all that out of the way, so he knows he's official, and we've all agreed on compensation, starting date, and he can work on getting the housing.
Is that in the form of the motion of
Yes.
independent contractor, 11,000 a
Yes, yeah.
month, beginning January 7th,
Yeah,
2019?
that's my motion. Yes.
Okay. Is there anything
Second.
else?
Well, also, I think we need to add in there the termination provisions. And in light of the circumstances you're under, I would recommend a 30-day notice on both parties' part as well.
Okay.
I'm agreeable.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Motion.
add that too.
How many hours would he work a week? So he told me he only wanted to work around 30 hours a week. I don't know.
The discussion I had with him is that his compensation would be based on the $11,000 per month. The monthly rate would be, 5 times 40, 200 hours, and that he may not want to work a full 40-hour week. If he worked a 30-hour week, then his compensation would be adjusted down in proportion to the 40-hour week.
Okay.
Is that all agreeable?
Is that what he agreed on?
Starts to get convoluted there.
Did he agree to that?
He suggested it to
Yeah,
me.
I think that's fine.
Okay. So, any other questions? 'Cause I do have a.
I think we're going to, I think Travis said, we're going to get 60 hours on him. He's going to be on the phone.
Right.
We can get, we can call him. I don't think we should get
No.
hooked on how many hours he's going to work. I guarantee you we're
Right,
going to get
'cause
our
otherwise
money's
it
worth.
gets
I
too
guarantee you we're going to
convoluted.
get our
He's gonna
money's
give-
worth from.
And he will do what he says he needs.
Right now, he's planning on how he's going to. He's probably listening to us right now. How he's going
Wendell.
to hit the ground running. So.
All right. Well, I think he already
Let's
has some
let's-
ideas on that.
He knows, yeah. So
Okay.
I don't want to get hooked on how much time he's
Okay.
going to work.
All right. So we've agreed, you're going to do the independent contractor with the $11,000 a month, January 7th start date, and with a 30-day notice of termination. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
That's my motion.
Okay, I have a motion and I had a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now that we know that Mr. Johnson is going to be our interim city manager, I did have several conversations, not just when he was here, but I have been on the phone with him, because we did have, I think we all agreed that we thought a committee would work. I think that there's, as we look at this, having the committee, I think there's people from the community that have offered resources and just their knowledge in helping us find the right person. I think it was a good discussion that we had at our previous meeting about setting up a committee. I think in light of the conversations we've had with the attorney and more information, I think that in my conversations with Mr. Johnson is that he just went through this process in Lake City where he worked with the senior advisors, he worked with the business community. I know that we have already had people contacting me wanting to send resumes. I know probably other commissioners have also had folks wanting to know about the position, or maybe in the future when this is actually placed out there. I believe that the right thing is to do is just to go with Mr. Johnson as our interim city manager and have him do the process working with our attorney in supplying to the commission a list of potential city managers. I think he's well equipped, and he's been working with the senior advisors. He knows the business community, and he's willing to meet with them as well and get their input, as well as each commissioner's input. And then, of course, I know that the Southwest Florida board, a person from their board, as an executive search, they also said that they would be more than happy to help. So I think that the point of contact should be Mr. Johnson, and he should be helping us find the next city manager with all the resources and information that we have as a community I just don't think we need to form a committee at this point. Just after my conversation with him, I think he's more than able to help us find the right city manager for the future. So I don't know if we need, this is my suggestion, that we dissolve the recruitment committee and let Mr. Johnson work with our city attorney, business community leaders, and the state of Florida, Southwest Florida Works Executive Search, if that's something that he believes is something that needs to be done, or as he suggested, work also with the senior advisors, because he's done that, and they have the information for city managers and county managers that are looking for, or maybe some of them not even be looking, but that he has that knowledge that he can help us. It's a convoluted way of saying it, but don't think we need to have the committee. I think we need to have Mr. Johnson be the lead person, work with our city attorney to get this done. Come back with recommendations to us.
Do we need a motion on it?
Yeah, I think you should have a motion to dissolve that selection committee that you
I'll give a motion
set
to
up last
dissolve the
time.
committee.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So is there anything, we just turn it over to Mr. Johnson and give him
So
that
then those
information?
people that we selected for that committee will not be contacted at all now, correct?
Well, they can
Mr.
be.
Johnson can contact them, absolutely.
Okay, because I have a
Absolutely.
little concern, because the person that I had selected contacted me and told me he received a phone call asking that he decline to be on that committee, so that they did not have to meet under the sunshine rule. And so that caused me some concern. And I just want to make sure that we're not going to have those same people meet together outside of the sunshine law.
Okay, I think that Mr.
I
Johnson.
want that on record that I was concerned about that.
I think that Mr. Johnson can certainly meet with individuals and folks from the community and take their input. I believe that all of
And
the
I-
five of us.
and I agree with that.
The five of us are governed by the sunshine, and he has, I know that in his role and in what he said to me, that he's handled it up there in Lake City with the community as well as with the senior advisors, and that he believes that he can work with all those who have been willing to serve or help us out. He would be more than happy to talk to them and accept their input at any time.
And I have no problem with Mr. Johnson doing that. I have no problem with him being stand-up.
Okay.
I did have a concern that somebody felt they needed to make that call. So that's my concern that I'm voicing.
Okay. All right. Well, and I'd just like to say something. I've had a lot of people call me with lots of suggestions of what they think, but at the end of the day, I'm making my decision based on the fact that what I believe is right after my conversation with Mr. Johnson, that he is able to handle his responsibilities as city manager, but also to help us find as an interim city manager, but him to help us find the right city manager. And he will use the cadre of resources that this community has to be able to determine who would be the best city manager. I even said, hey, there might be some people out there that might not be looking for a job, but because they're happy where they're at. But you know who they are. You can go out there and you can look for folks that you believe will be serving the community.
Don't have a problem with that.
And so,
and he'll utilize FCCMC along with it.
The senior
and I don't have
advisors.
a problem with that.
Right.
I think I was clear on what my concern was, and it's on the record.
Well, and I think that Mr. Johnson will handle his responsibilities as an interim city manager in a professional manner, and certainly he knows.
And
that
I'm not questioning that.
There's many in the community that also want to make sure that we're looking at everyone possible to make the right decision, because I think it's imperative. There's so much, just little bits and pieces like tonight, 2 lots for sale at the Commerce Park where there's nothing been going on. We still have some unfinished business with the Main Street. I think Mr. Johnson can do that as well as help us find the right city manager. And he knows the community, and I think that the folks who volunteered to help us out, I think he'll reach out to them and he'll work with them on getting their input. And I'm sure that there's many who show up at our meetings who probably will also give us some advice and input on selection of a city manager. So, is that?
Sounds good to me.
Are we good? Are we good? Okay. All right. Okay. Public comments.
Jerry Cochran, I wouldn't want to disappoint y'all. At Commissioner Rowland's last meeting, he pointed out or stated that one of his disappointments in serving on city council is he had never been able to get y'all to agree, go back and look at this 30-year contract with FMPA. I think he's spot on about that, and I disagree with him frequently, but for the city to be in a rolling 30-year contract to get out of something is ludicrous. And I don't understand why we don't give notice to those folks that we want out. We're all going to be dead and buried before that 30 years is up. Maybe Mr. Atkinson will still be around. I don't see any harm in doing that. And I would
Listen,
appreciate.
I plan on being around for 30 years.
Makes me 80-something,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
I would appreciate if y'all would put that on the workshop and at least discuss it, the pros and the cons of giving those folks notification.
Right.
I'm not
And-
sure
and-
whoever agreed to a 30-year contract. but-
Mr. Cochran, I know that at previous city commission meetings, we have discussed it, and the commission did not vote to go forward with it. So it has been an item on the agenda.
Don't see what the problem with the
have a
possibility of
new
cheaper
commission,
electricity
so-
is, but
So
Okay.
does giving notice mean you have to get out, or do you give notice and then you can say, I'm not going to get out?
Your 30 years start once you give your notice.
Plus, there's all kinds of ramifications during that 30-year period that you have to
Yes.
look at. It's very, very complicated deal, and beyond my simple understanding to think that I have enough knowledge to even advise you on it.
Right.
You would have to hire really a very pinpointed expert on this type of thing if you really wanted to move forward. I mean, Vero Beach has been working on trying to get out of it for the last 15 years.
About $2.5 million.
Yeah, yeah. So,
And there was a buyout. I mean, there had to be a buyer for Vero Beach, and that was FP&L. And it was a very complicated Public Service Commission meetings, and it was delayed. But I do know, Jerry, that we did discuss it, and we voted not to submit a letter of notice.
well, it's my understanding that FPNL's rate is less than what MPA is charging us. Is that correct?
Yes.
I don't see the harm in looking at it and talking about it.
Well, but we see the monthly comparisons of residential rates from FP&L to FMPA and where the city charges, and we're within very close to what FPL is charging its residents. It's not, we're talking,
We've actually beat them.
yeah, and so, they might be, maybe it's a lower rate, but they're not passing that on to their consumers.
You got to realize too, with FMPA, they give us engineers. We're not going to get that with FPNL.
Right.
We've got somebody coming down to work with Monaco on the power adjustment. So
Okay.
we have a lot of things with them.
Right, there's definitely a lot of benefits,
to FMPA,
correct.
And they are working on small cities to get out.
Right.
They're going
So,
to make a deal.
and we need to
so there's
maximize-
a lot going on.
right.
We just got to let it play out.
The president of FMPA,
Yes.
what's his name?
Yeah.
Well, I spoke with him.
Jacob
Yeah,
Williams.
Jacob,
Jacob Williams.
I spoke with him probably a year ago. He said if we put our 30 years in now, all our debt's going to be paid off in about 24 to 25 years. So then we're going to lose. Once it's paid off, we're going to get out. They're going to benefit from it. We're going to lose our benefit. And I'm not a power expert at all.
I mean, right now, they're looking at our system. Engineers, it's free.
Too complicated.
Yeah.
They're
So-
looking at our substation.
30 years from now, there will be
Engineers are showing up.
$200 million more debt.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, there's a lot of benefits. FPNL, they charge you
Okay.
to come look at anything.
I see I'm spinning my wheels up here. I remain adamant that we need to look at it, but, obviously y'all aren't going to. So
Homework,
thank you
Jerry.
for the time.
Jerry, you've made a lot of good suggestions. But tonight you might,
All I'm saying is look at it.
I understand.
My understanding is if we give those people
So I don't want
notice.
you to leave without, we listen to
No, I
you.
understand, and I appreciate that. My only point was if we give those people notice now, and in 29 years, we decide we're going to stay with them, we still have that ability to stay with them. Is that correct?
Yes.
No.
No,
Oh,
there's
buy it out.
there's a whole, like our attorney just said, Jerry, there's a lot of complicated
sure it is, 'cause
issues,
Vero
right,
Beach
and we'd
is-
have to hire somebody else, and I don't know what that cost was to Vero Beach, but it was pretty hefty.
But it must have made sense
I
to
just
them.
read it, yeah.
Well, but Vero Beach, let me just point out, Vero Beach, the majority of their folks that were paying for power were not within their city limits. It was outside their city limits. It's a whole different scenario than what we have here. The majority of the city of Clewiston are within the majority of our utilities customers are within the city limits of Clewiston.
Okay, I
And so it's
appreciate it.
completely different than Vero Beach.
I
They had
appreciate the time.
opposite.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other public comments? Okay, Mr. Attorney, anything else before us tonight?
Yes, I wanted to report that your lawyers today had a 2-hour hearing in front of the federal court on the Clewiston Commons case with respect to their request for a preliminary injunction to prevent the city from enforcing your codes. I had a full report from the lawyers afterward. They said the hearing went real well and that we should be hearing from the federal court within the next month.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else?
No.
Okay. Acting City Manager? Are you, nothing?
No, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm all good. Christine? Good. Thank you. Julia?
I'm good.
Good.
Mikey? Okay, I do have two things. One is I would like to publicly thank Sherry Howell, our finance director, who stepped up to the plate as our acting city manager. It's not been a very easy transition because there's so many things that have been going on. But Sherry, we appreciate so much what you've done on behalf of the city and stepping up to the plate to help us out during this time. But I ask you for your patience because you have until January the 7th. So thank you so much for your work. And as tonight is our last meeting for the year, and certainly before Christmas, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I think it's my favorite time of the year. It's a blessed time of the year, and I hope that all of you and have a wonderful, wonderful time with your families and friends, and that we celebrate the Christmas season as we should together. And as we look at the new year, I'm excited. There's so much going on. There's lots of work to be done. But I do believe that 2019 will be a good and prosperous year for the city of Clewiston, and I'm going to do my part to ensure that happens. So, thank you again. Is there anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Adjourn. Thank you for being with us tonight.